Religious belief has shaped entire civilizations, built empires, and justified wars. But when you step back and look at some of the specific claims, practices, and stories that billions of people have been taught to accept as sacred truth, many of them sound, well, laughable. And I don't mean just the fringe cults or the groups we've all heard about on the news. I mean mainstream religions, ideas that millions or even billions of people take seriously today. Take the idea that an all powerful being cares deeply about what we eat. For example, some believers think it's a cosmic offense to eat pork, or to mix dairy with meat, or to skip a ritual prayer before a meal. Now think about it. If a supreme intelligence created the entire universe with galaxies, black holes, and billions of years of cosmic evolution, would the most pressing concern really be whether someone had bacon with breakfast? And it's not just food. Whole rules exist around clothing, from covering hair to avoiding certain fabrics to wearing specific colors at specific times. There are believers who genuinely think their eternal fate could hinge on whether their shirt was made from two different types of thread. It's hard to take that seriously when you think about what else is happening in the world: wars, poverty, disease. But the focus somehow is on fabric. Then there are rituals around cleanliness. Some people think you have to wash in a very particular way before you're allowed to pray. Others believe certain numbers of steps must be taken in circles around a holy site to gain divine favor. This is supposedly the master plan of a cosmic designer. Count your steps correctly, and you're blessed. Get it wrong, and the creator of the universe is offended. It sounds more like a board game than a philosophy for life. Another area that always stands out is sacred objects. Take relics, bones, teeth, clothing, even dried blood that are displayed and worshipped because they supposedly came from a prophet or saint. Some churches claim to have pieces of the cross Jesus was crucified on. But historians have pointed out that if you added up all the pieces that different places claim to have, you'd have enough wood to build an entire ship. People are bowing, kissing, and traveling thousands of miles to see fragments of wood, not realizing how many competing versions exist. Even the idea of holy water is revealing. A liquid is said to gain magical properties because a priest waves his hand over it and says some words. Suddenly, this water can heal, purify, or protect people from evil. The same thing happens in many religions with oils, powders, or incense. It's not chemistry, it's not biology, it's belief dressed up as cosmic magic. Then there's prayer. People sincerely believe they can influence the universe by whispering thoughts in their head or repeating them out loud in a specific direction. They'll pray for their sports team to win, for exam grades, or even for good weather on the weekend. Meanwhile, across the world, someone else is praying for the opposite outcome. It becomes obvious that prayer is no more effective than chance, yet people still credit it when things happen their way and conveniently forget the times it fails. But the real head scratchers come when you look at creation stories. In one tradition, the universe was made in 6 days, complete with animals, plants, and humans in their modern form. In another, the first humans were shaped out of clay or corn dough. In yet another, the earth rests on the back of a giant animal. These myths were attempts by ancient people to explain the world before science existed, understandable in their time, but laughable today when we know about evolution, geology, and astronomy. And yet, millions of adults still cling to these myths as literal truth. Think about the belief in talking animals. In one holy book, a donkey speaks human language to deliver a message. In another, a serpent convinces humans to disobey God. Elsewhere, birds carry divine messages. When children hear stories like this, they recognize them as fairy tales. But when the same stories are told in a church or mosque or temple, they're suddenly sacred. Let's talk about miracles. Believers claim water has been turned into wine, seas split in half, people walked on water, or rose into the sky. And in more recent times, there are stories of statues crying blood or faces of saints appearing on toast. These are presented as proof of divine power. But when you ask for verifiable evidence, test it under neutral conditions, the miracles disappear. They exist only in stories, rumors, or in the eye of the already convinced. Another category that highlights how bizarre belief can get is the obsession with sexuality. Some religions insist that a god created the human body with desires and functions, and then declared them sinful. Entire systems of rules are built around what you can and cannot do with your own body, who you can love, when, and how. For many believers, their eternal destiny supposedly hinges on whether they kissed the right person or touched the wrong body part. To put it plainly, the idea that a cosmic intelligence micromanages human sexuality is laughable. Even the concept of hell shows the absurdity of some doctrines. People are told that if they fail to believe, or if they break a rule, they'll suffer endless torture, fire that never burns you up, pain that never ends forever. Think about how grotesque that is. And yet, billions are told this is not only real but necessary. A God of infinite love will supposedly inflict infinite pain on his creations for finite mistakes. If any human suggested such a punishment, we'd call them cruel or insane. But wrap it in religious language, and suddenly it's justice. Then there's heaven. For some believers, it's a paradise where you get anything you want forever. Others believe it's an eternal choir where you sing praises endlessly. Others say it's a banquet with food and drink flowing forever. But here's the issue: eternity is a very long time. The human brain isn't even wired to comprehend it. What seems fun for a few hours or days would become unbearable if it truly never ended. The very idea of eternal reward quickly collapses under its own weight. What's fascinating is how many of these beliefs rely on loopholes. When prayers don't work, it's because God had another plan. When miracles can't be verified, it's because faith doesn't need proof. When rules are arbitrary, it's because the divine is beyond human understanding. These excuses keep the system running, even when the core claims collapse under scrutiny. Sociologists often point out that the stranger a belief is, the more loyal it makes its followers. If someone convinces you that eating a cracker transforms into human flesh or that a ritual bath removes invisible sins, you've crossed a threshold. Once you accept one absurd claim, the door is open to accept more. It becomes a test of loyalty, not a search for truth. And this loyalty has very real consequences. Children are denied medicine because their parents believe prayer is enough. Women are forced into clothing or marriages dictated by sacred rules. People are ostracized, punished, or even killed because someone thinks a book demands it. What started as myths and rituals becomes the justification for controlling entire lives. Some of the most laughable beliefs also reveal deep human fears. Fear of death leads to stories of resurrection, reincarnation, or eternal afterlife. Fear of chaos leads to myths about a divine lawgiver. Fear of nature's unpredictability creates gods of rain, thunder, or fertility. Strip away the rituals, and what you see is humanity grappling with uncertainty, turning fear into fantasy. What's striking is how inconsistent these beliefs are across cultures. One group believes cows are sacred, while another slaughters them in ritual. One says the Creator rests on the seventh day, another says on the fifth. One claims humans get one life, another says they get endless rebirths. They can't all be right, but they can all be wrong. And yet, despite all this, belief persists. Because religion doesn't just offer explanations, it offers identity, belonging, and meaning. People laugh at ancient myths of gods throwing lightning bolts while still clinging to modern myths about sacred bread or invisible battles between angels and demons. The details change, but the underlying pattern stays the same. At the end of the day, the most laughable religious beliefs are not just the strange rules about food or clothing, or the talking animals, or the invisible punishments and rewards. It's the idea that these human inventions, written in old books by ancient tribes, are timeless, unquestionable truths. That the creator of galaxies is micromanaging our diets, our bedrooms, and our clothing choices. That's the ultimate absurdity. And maybe the biggest laugh of all is that despite mountains of evidence, countless failed prophecies, and endless contradictions, billions still accept these beliefs not just as true, but as beyond question. And that perhaps says less about the nature of gods and more about the nature of human beings.